when it happens, especially literally in most climes, not all climes anyway, but ours in Africa is always a different kettle of fish. I just feel that the president coming from the airport, they should just helicopter him, allow me to use that, to wherever he's going, so that those of us who are still using the road can use the road in peace and with joy. So Kaido, what are you tracking?
Quite a number of things. Aside the fact that the president is in Lagos, the bigger picture is that we're counting down to May the 29th. And as we always say, the subnationals are also big in this conversation. We'll show you some of the things happening in the Akwa Ibom State, how people are now singing, that trendy song, I have decided to follow. But instead of Jesus, they say they're following the governor. But the big point here is, how well would you rate your governors across the states? Because tomorrow, a lot of them, majority of them, will also be 2 years in office. How well have they delivered on the economy, security, at least the one within their reach? But yes, we can talk about infrastructure in your state. Are your roads better? Look around you. Are the roads better? Are the schools well equipped? Are the workers well paid? Are the hospitals equipped as well? Now, these are the indices to use to assess your governor, whether you're in Oyo State, you're in Lagos, you're in Kano, or wherever you may be, or you are in, well, let me see now, which state in Southeast is not off cycle? Abia, whether you're in Abia or Enugu, right? Let us know how well... Ebonyi, thank you very much. Let us know how well have your governors fared as well. We'll put the heat on the president, absolutely, but we must not leave the governors out. That's what I'm tracking, Jeffrey.
Yeah, and talking about the heat on the president, it's already getting the heat for the proposal seeking new borrowings from the National Assembly, $21 billion. At the end of the day, a lot of people are quite angry because one of the things I've commended the government for is their debt-to-revenue ratio, which they've dropped from 90-something% to about 68%. But this has scaled it up again. There's nothing wrong with borrowing, but borrowing to do exactly what? He's highlighted a few things, but we need a lot more than that, 21 billion. So let me give Nigerians the context. The entire budget of all the 36 states, including the FCT, put together is about $18 billion. The president or the federal government wants to borrow $21 billion. So let's be clear. The entire budget of the federal government for the year 2025 is in the range of about $36, $37, $38 billion. And the federal government wants to borrow about 21-point-something billion dollars. So this is a time for the National Assembly to do due diligence. You've been called rubber stamp over time, and you keep saying you're not rubber stamp. The reason you're called rubber stamp, I think things like this. So line by line, item by item, some may be via bonds, some may be outright borrowing to do things that we need obligations for. But do we need to borrow as much as that right now? So this is the time for the National Assembly not just to be ratifying things, the situation we saw with the issues around River State is still echoing in the minds of people as how that voting took place. So now, respect the committees in charge and the House on the whole now. When you look at this budget, this proposal to borrow money, 21 billion, maybe you can help scale it down. Government will always borrow one way or the other. So we commended them for clearing up the IMF loan. That was borrowed during COVID because it was due and all of that. And Nigeria had the default when it comes to some of these things. But this new borrowing, what is it for? So Nigerians would like to see line by line, item by item, whether it's worth it or not, or whether this is just aggregation for preparation for politics ahead of 2027. Because whether you like it or not, these are the things people are saying. And we will do our due diligence as well to ask the hard questions as to what these borrowings are for. Because right now, let's not erode. We've removed subsidy from fuel, removed subsidy from FX, removed part subsidy from electricity. We have some money, and then all of this has helped in the debt-to-revenue ratio. Our external reserves have also increased in some sense, and these new borrowings, of course, is going to affect how things play out. Our rebased GDP is not out yet. This is May. We're still waiting for all of that. So the National Assembly must do what the National Assembly should do. The other day, former President Goodluck Jonathan said when the National Assembly was National Assembly, he was taking a swipe at them, meaning that this National Assembly, like everything goes.
It's now a state assembly.
No, what it means is that everything goes here. That's what my suspicions are, because the National Assembly leadership is saying, we try to engage, we don't want to be combative and all of that. Sir, your job is partly to be combative. Your job is partly to say no. Your job is partly to say it cannot happen. So with a greater sense of respect, we want to see what these new borrowings are for. If it's not what the while, cross them out and approve the ones that are necessary. That is how to run a government. Particularly because some of the reasons for this are quite vague, right? You see things like infrastructure. Now, those are the things that the Senate President said: infrastructure, agriculture, health, education, water supply, growth, security, and employment generation, as well as financial management reforms, amongst others. That is quite vague again, but it's understandable that the National Assembly would want to do their jobs, and that is what we're speaking to while you're doing your jobs. Let us know. So is it going to be a road from this village to this village, or this federal road, or is it going to be rail? Let us have the specifics. It's good you've given an overview, but we need to drill deeper. Now, speaking of drilling deeper, on the show this morning, we're drilling deeper into the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP. Finally, the PDP has held its neck. That's the National Executive Committee meeting. Yesterday was a date, and they had some resolutions out of that neck meeting. So what's the way forward? What's the implementation going to be like? Does that mean that all of the warring factions or groups or individuals are coming together? What is holding the PDP's neck right now after they've held their neck? We'll find out. That's a lot to talk about. 99th neck of the People's Democratic Party. We'll move from there to governance, as President Bola Tinubu submitted a request that we talked about $21.5 billion external loan and a $758 billion domestic bond to settle outstanding pension liabilities. Well, our guests will be joining us to discuss this as it affects us. If approved, what will be the state of our economy? You know, Children's Day may have come and gone, but the fight for children's rights and protection definitely continues. So we'll be highlighting effective ways to carry out this fight, as well as touching key areas which our leaders can improve on in protecting child rights. Okay, that's a lot we're talking about today on the program, but these are just the basic highlights of what we'll be discussing today. But don't forget, you can also join us via all the platforms we have available. Social media especially, you can go to X, CTV Morning Brief, that's a hashtag. You can also send us an email, it will always be scrolling on your screen, as well as the WhatsApp number. We will be here to amplify your voice. But first, let's get to find out what's happening on the front pages of our national dailies. All right, well, spoiled for choice, and of course, we're being joined on the program by Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Sam Kagbo, who will be helping us out with some of the headlines we're dealing with. Leonard Silk, welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thank you for having me this morning.
I'll need you to do some yeoman's job this morning. Twin Leadership newspaper is where we would like to start from. Two things I would like you to speak to, Leonard Silk. NEC, stalemate over PDP national scribe. I could clearly see yesterday that Samayamu was not, at least from the videos I saw, I didn't see Samayamu in that NEC meeting. Also, second anniversary, knocks, kudos for Tinubu on security. Concerns over 7 attacks on military formations in 5 months. Fight against insurgency yielding results, according to some stakeholders. Several terrorists eliminated, arms recovered. Go ahead, sir.
Well, let me start with the PDP. The PDP is a problem child. I think if you ask me, I would say that their problem will stay with them for a while, because I had always said this. For now, the trunk and roots of PDP is Wike. And Wike, his branches are in APC. it becomes very, very difficult for them to solve the problem they are having now. Because the Wike faction, as of today, is stronger than the rest of the party. And calling him a spoiler, calling him the obstructionist, whatever you say, as at today, Wike is PDP, and until he decides otherwise, the PDP will be having their own problem. On the issue of the security, of course, we've been having this problem since about 2011 up to today. The variations are slightly, what I'm trying to say, yeah, we've been having some time when we have some respites. For an example, we've had respites concerning banditry in the northwest for a while now. But the northeast is reoccurring. The Boko Haram, ISWAP is also there. And one would have thought that with the experience we've had and the time we've had with these security challenges, we would have by now actually had some sort of a leverage over this security problem. But I think the military and perhaps the stakeholders themselves are finding it difficult to have a lasting solution. And it's going to be difficult for us to have a lasting solution over the security challenges because, hey, the entire Sahel here, or what you would call the entire West African region here, especially with our neighbors, Niger, Chad, and Mali, for an example, with their own security challenges also filtering into Nigeria, it's going to be very, very difficult for us to actually have a lasting solution over that. Perhaps what I would only say is to encourage the military to do more. They've been doing a fantastic job. It's a difficult one. And they've been giving them the resources, though I do not think that the resources are enough. I do not think that they have enough arms and ammunition to actually challenge and push back the insurgents and the other bandits that are ravaging the northwest and the northeast. But if you ask me, we could one day, someday, find a solution to this because we need that. Without us taming this security issue or this security devil, the other areas that would suffer is famine. People, many of the northern areas are now deserted. Farms are now desolate because farmers can't go to the farm because of the security challenges. So I would expect that for President Tinubu, he should, in the next year to come, pay much more attention to the security challenges because he needs to actually succeed in that area for it to reflect in the other areas, especially agriculture.
Well, Senior Advocate, next up is Nigerian News Direct. Nigerian News Direct leads with the outcome of the PDP's NEC meeting, or at least part of the things discussed there. And you see, Tinubu, APC, desperate to annihilate opposition parties. That's coming from the PDP NEC, says APC driven by fear of 2027 election defeat. As Sule Lamido vows to boycott PDP meetings until Wike or Tom are expelled. What do you make of this, Senior Advocate?
I'm not impressed by the blame game. PDP must put its act together. It is not the business of APC to see, or what would I call it now, see or promote the PDP. It is in the interest of the APC to, if I would use some of the words they used there, to annihilate PDP because parties are contesting for one thing, the resources of the state. That's what they are doing. And if one party is doing so much to actually put you out of contest and you are complaining, what would you want the people to do? Because the opposition is actually to be an alternative government. It is supposed to even be much more serious, much more organized, and much more proactive than the party in politics, because the party in politics already has its day and sometimes could be carried away with the spoils of the day. But what have we had here? The opposition is in disarray. They don't put their acts together. How could PDP that had actually ruled this country for so long now reduce itself to a situation where one man is holding them to ransom and they cannot do anything about it. And I can bet you it's not so soon that they can do anything about it. Many of them have even thrown in the towel. That's why you see them looking for coalition, going to SDP and all of that. I would want, because I had written that without a strong opposition, you do not have a democracy. Without a very effective and up and doing opposition, believe me, you will not have democracy, because the opposition is there to checkmate the ruling party and the government of the day. But where you have PDP as it is, which is today the leading opposition party, in sort of disarray and in an abysmal situation, believe me, APC would have its day. But if you ask me, also as an advice for APC, it is not in the interest of Nigeria for us to go the route of a one-party state. And of course, it will not succeed. And I would also hope that as many of them that are defecting to APC are defecting with the good intention. Because if they are not going there for the good intention, they are going there to protect their mandates for 2027, and they lose out in the internal struggle, there may also be an implosion within the APC. So APC should not go to sleep believing that, oh, they are having it all. I think their work is cut out for them, because now they have to manage what? Both the old loyal members and those who are coming there as refugees.
All right. So, okay, let's go to the Nigerian Tribune. It leads with the latest Tinubu writes NAS, $621 billion, $21.5 billion external loan, 558 billion naira pension bond. So this has generated a lot of talk on the streets, given the fact that the government has always said that its macroeconomic indicators are looking good, especially when it comes to external reserve, stabilization of the FX market, although it's high, and all of the things, debt to revenue. But now we're seeing this new borrowing. I was saying that our total budget is about 55 billion states and federal government. Federal government is about 36 billion, states about 18, but this is 21 billion to borrow, whether it's in form of pension. What do you make of this?
Well, let me start with my worry about the regulators. The Debt Management Office, the Central Bank, and the Ministry of Finance. They are supposed to actually manage the borrowing of the government. But it seems as if all that we've been concerned with is the tail end of it, when the president takes his own letter to get the authorization of the National Assembly. But to me, the nitty-gritty, they said the devil is in the detail. The nitty-gritty of all of this debt has to be with the Debt Management Office. It is its own duty to actually educate us as to why this borrowing should continue, because that is its job. Since about 2000, when it was created specifically to ensure that we do not have a debt crisis. But what have we been having? We have day in, day out governments funding their own budgets with borrowing. We cannot continue like that, because you are borrowing money. You got to pay with interest, and you're going to pay also with what? Foreign currency. So much so that the money that you will need tomorrow, you already spend it today. And my fear is, what if that money is not put into a very useful purpose, or is not expended for projects that they've stated on the face of their own papers. Who do we hold? The Debt Management Office, the Central Bank. The Central Bank recently is urging for a balance between what the monetary policy which they handle and the fiscal policy which the government handles. And yet, it is also their own duty to make inputs in some of these borrowings. But they do not do that. When you bring this thing to the National Assembly, how many of them have the expertise and wherewithal to actually take a very critical look into these loans and make any useful suggestions? So most of the time, what they just do back-end politicking and negotiations, and they give their own authorization and their own consent without actually looking into the details of it to see what are the hidden problems that we may have tomorrow in respect of the payment of debts. Because you have to pay. Debt servicing in itself has always been what? Much more of a problem than the debt itself, because you would have to pay the interest. And sometimes some of these loans, they come with very high interest. So yeah, the world over, governments borrow to finance their own budgets, but it shouldn't be a kind of a daily affair as we are having here. So I'm hoping that, yeah, the Debt Management Office in particular would have done its own oversight function over these transactions, because if not, we'll still be having what we are having. Why are we where we are? So much so that most of the time you have over 50% of the budget going to debt servicing. If indeed over time these regulatory bodies have been very effective and functional and responsive to their own duties.
Senior Advocate Umar, thank you so much. I just remember that I think deficit is in the range of about 13 or so trillion naira. So adding this to it, so maybe pushing, we're getting there to almost 200 trillion, maybe about 140, 180. I'm not sure the number now, but the numbers are piling up and it's of great concern. Umar, thank you so much for coming on the program. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Sam Kagbo, thank you for always bringing your expertise in. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for the opportunity. God bless you all.
All right, so we'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll get to all the conversation. We'll talk about politics, we'll talk about these issues of debt and children's rights and protection. Join us again.
Let's check on the state of the umbrella. This morning, the PDP held its 99th NEC meeting yesterday, and well, the outcome is what we'll be testing on the program this morning. We're joined, as you saw there, Oladimeji Fabi is Director of Support Groups for PDP Presidential Campaign Council in the 2023 election. Joins us live from our Abuja studio, and Devo Kore, a political development expert, joins us virtually from Lagos. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the program. And naturally, I'll begin with Mr. Fabi. Let me just ask right away, with the NEC meeting holding, how much of the issues have been resolved? Or simply put, now that the NEC has held, Have you been able to remove every hand holding the PDP by its neck? Pun intended, yeah.
Let me start by saying that the neck that was held yesterday really fell short of so many things, the expectations of the party members and even Nigerians, because a lot of people that thought that meeting would have afforded the party an opportunity to trash out so many serious issues that have been dividing the party in the last 1 or 2 years. But unfortunately, as far as that was never to be. And for me, it was as good as the neck never held, because there are salient issues, there are germane issues that should have been addressed by these leaders, by the members of the NEC. But unfortunately, they ran away from it. They dwelled on there. Well, all those concerns raised about the problem of the APC's activities and all that, they are valid, but they didn't really address the internal issues that are affecting the party. And that's why I found out what they did yesterday. Even the issue of national security that is raging now, I know thanks to Minister Wike that is creating another, issue on that side. They never addressed it. They postponed the evil. They said, what stops them from addressing it yesterday? Because this is the latest issue that is holding the party down, that has stopped the party from moving forward. So what was the essence of the NEC? So these guys are just a bunch of jokes, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm not inspired, I'm not even encouraged. So how do we instill confidence in members of the party? When you do this kind of thing, you gathered yesterday to address most of these issues. And you said you now postpone it to 30th of June. What stops you from addressing it now? It means that these guys are not serious and they are not honest with the party. There is a script that is being played here. And all of us are waiting to see where this script will lead the party. Nothing has changed. And we are going to have more issues with this party. I'm not a prophet of doom. It is clear now that PDP is not ready to lead the rescue mission for this country. It is clear that they are not even ready to challenge the dangerous plan of President Tinubu to turn Nigeria into one-party state. It is clear that they are not ready to solve any problem. And I ask, why are all this? Why are they afraid to take decisions that will advance the interest of the party, that will also advance the interest of this country? PDP has disappointed so many of us. And it's painful that we have a party. I was in this party from the beginning. I know how this thing was. PDP runs this. PDP was a great party. But the greatness of that party has long gone. So I listened to your press release, this essay I just left. Why would you allow one man to be holding the party down? All this, and you cannot discipline him. This is the fundamental question that Damagun-led NWC and even the NEC Dimensions they should have answered. Why would you do that? Why is it so difficult to discipline any members, people that glaringly worked against the party, and they're still doing it? Why is it so difficult for you to do? So we all know why. Some of us know why they are doing that. And the next thing is, Atiku is the problem. How is Atiku the problem now? So is Atiku that is causing all of this? Atiku is Aya that caused Ayahu and Ude Okoye situation? Is it Atiku that said you should organize Congress that are having problem in the state? Is it Atiku that has taken the party to court? So all of these things, they should actually say the truth and stop misleading the public. My take is this: if PDP is truly ready to lead the rescue of this, the rescue of this country, they must immediately first address those contradictions internally and disciplinary issues that have debuted the party. If the PDP is truly ready to lead, to stop Tinubu from turning Nigeria to one-party state, they must immediately engage in broad-based strategic coalition with even civil society, with pro-democracy forces and other parties, and get this thing done in the interest of this country. This is what I've not seen PDP. That's why I said they are not ready. They are playing a script. How can your ambition destroy an institution?
Mr. Fabi, so are you saying that Mr. Anyanwu should remain as a secretary or Mr. Ode Okoye? Which is it for you?
I am not saying any of them. The party said the deputy national secretary should continue. What is the problem in that? What really is the interest?
All right.
If the party has decided that, okay, we have already agreed that the deputy national secretary should continue for peace to be in the party, let it be. Then do all of the things. And they are living real issues. They are following. They are chasing shadows.
So for you, they're meant to move away from that rather than going back to try to resolve it. But let me go to Mr. Okore and get his thoughts on this. Well, he has said that yesterday's NEC meeting fell short of expectations. No one has been punished, reprimanded. He talked about broad-based coalition. But for some, they'll say this was a success in itself, the fact that they were able to pull together in spite of a division. At least this is better than nothing.
Well, thank you for having me, Kadi. If you've been watching politics in Nigeria, you realize that what they do is right in front of your face. And it's not easy. I mean, it's so easy to understand when a political party is headed for ruin. In this issue, PDP has elementary problems. And when I say elementary problems, their issues are right in front of them. Their major challenge is their inability as a political organization, one of the oldest in the continent, to follow their own rules. Let me repeat myself. The problem of the PDP is a problem that they have amongst each other to follow their own laid down constitution, okay? Now, you can take the blame game from those who say it's Atiku that is the root of the problem. Some say it is Wike that is the root of the problem. Some say, oh, it is the past leaders that sets this precedence in place. But think about it, just like my gentleman there had mentioned, a party that has been challenged by such divisions, you would have felt that the first urgent matter on their table was to either address the indiscipline of anti-party activity, or, if you like, go to the original sin, which was basically PDP as a convention and as a constitution has zoning and power sharing between the North and South. That was the basis of when, I think, was it the G20 set up the PDP. And it was always on that basis. It was never a problem. Now, at 2023 elections, the sentiment was, with Buhari having done 8 years, that power would move to the South. Now, at this same situation, I think it was in 2022, when they had this problem, they had a NEC meeting, which ideally, by convention, they should have simply said, oh, let's look at how we can bring up candidates from the South. An idea came up and said, no, let's compete. That is the same issue that began their downfall. They couldn't follow their own rules. Statements like, are you afraid of competition? If we compete, we will now know who is the best. Yes, that is a democratic option. I agree. But is that the rule? Is that what the PDP from its origin has agreed to do? If they're changing their convention or their constitution, then let it be known, like APC that doesn't have that convention, that power can shift anywhere, fine. But if we've always had a convention, you can't change it as you deem fit, or when it works for you and when it doesn't work for you. Now, since then, I mean, we can start reeling out all the issues that they had. Some who say Wike is the root of the problem of the PDP, he said agreement is agreement. They had a governor's forum, I think a few weeks ago. They invited him, and he asked a particular question. So how are we going about the presidential candidacy come 2027? They said, we still want to have NEC, etc. and co. That was all he needed to know, that PDP is not ready. Now, they've had the meeting yesterday. Kade, what did the PDP members say? They couldn't even bring up the topic because they know that means you're not straight. Let me say this.
But isn't that an academic exercise, Mr. Okore? He said he will support. No. He has said he will support President Tinubu. We know that. He's in the president's cabinet. He has never hidden it. So isn't that an academic exercise asking, what do you plan to do with the presidency? Is it trying to know their own game plan so you'll find a way to use it against them? I think you get what I mean here.
No, I do. But what I'm saying is, you haven't even given him a chance to air. PDP needs to set itself straight. Like I said, they can either agree. They should have been able to say, okay, this time round, the 8 years of power sharing to the South is not over. Therefore, we're going to shop for a candidate from the South. That would have been a clear indicator that, okay, we made an error in the past. We're ready to correct that now. That would have been a clear error. Immediately that is said, the equation shifts. It's no longer about Wike meddling in the matters. It's now Wike, now that we've chosen to do the right thing, if any action you take works against this party, you're being expelled. It's as simple as that. But if you're still dilly-dallying, you still want the option of, okay, let's keep it open to the public, then at the end of the day, it simply means that you don't want to change your ways. Secondly, the National Secretary issue. What is the history of the National Secretary issue? The only reason why Anyanwu is there and why the Supreme Court supported his candidature is simple. Ideally, if you were to run for a gubernatorial or any other position, you're meant to resign. Unfortunately, I think Ayu was the chairman then. He did not enforce a resignation on behalf of Anyanwu, which is why legally, technically, he is still the National Secretary. Whereas the majority of the party has voted for Udo Okoye. These are simple technicalities, Kayode. If a political party that claims that it wants to return, rescue, or bring about reforms in Nigeria cannot deliver the elementary, I repeat myself, a political party of experienced politicians cannot deliver the elementary basics to a school. We just celebrated Children's Day, Kayode. Come on. My daughter can even figure this out. That party is not ready. You know, I don't blame the APC. The APC has not bound themselves by some of these conventions. Some people claim, oh, the PDP follows rules, they follow constitution. It's okay. As they say in literature, there's honor amongst thieves. If the APC agrees that it's open to all, anybody who has the power, who has the capacity to win, I've always told people, politics is not about logic. 1 + 1 is not 2 in politics. Politics is about numbers and consensus. 1 + 1 in politics is 11. The PDP wants to continue, let's use the word, deceiving its own self, okay? Then there's nothing we can do as a people. My own grouse, my own challenge, my own grievance is that Nigeria is being robbed of what we call credible opposition. Okay. Nigeria is being robbed of an alternative position, stance, to be able to check a ruling administration at the federal level and as well as the state level. This is my issue. This is not democracy we're seeing. This is literally one party having a field day simply because there's no credible opposition out there.
Okay, great point you made. Let's take it to Mr. Fabi. Mr. Fabi, so in simple terms, Mr. Okore is saying this is a convolution of self-deception in the PDP. Everybody is trying to outsmart the other person, from Nyesom Wike to Atiku Abubakar to all the players. So for the records, your party constitution article 47(5) did not require the national secretary to resign. The operative word there was may. So I don't know how your party will interpret the word may or may not, whether may means compulsory, but may in literal terms means it's an option. And he's made a great point that the national chairman of the party as at then did not insist that Anyanwu resigns, just like it's conventional in our ground norm, the constitution that requires cabinet members to resign 30 days or so before they run for primaries. So I will posit the problem again as it is. The idea that now that the sentiment looks like the presidency should stay in the South and Atiku Abubakar looks like he wants to run, that's a problem. The idea that Nyesom Wike, who works with the president, works for the president, and is ready to work hard to ensure the president is returned, is also calling terms for the PDP as a reconciliation. Is also a funny contradiction. So the idea that some people are saying that Bala Mohammed has a presidential ambition, so it's not straightforward, and now Jay Makinda has been brought into the mix. I want you to look at all of these accusations and try to profile a solution.
Well, thank you very much. Let me address this, your poster, this way. Number one, there is a grand design, there is a grand plan to destroy PDP. Nobody can tell me otherwise. I've been a PDP member since 1999. I served there. I've worked in committees committees of the party. I've done assignment for the party. I understand this. There's a grand design. So whatever you want to say now, or whatever you want to do now, will not stop those who have decided to destroy the party for APC to stop. They will not stop. There's a grand design, and we know those who are behind all of this. I don't need to mention names any further. Having said that, let me tell you, I always disagree with anybody who says zoning is the problem of the PDP. Zoning has never been the problem. The problem has been those individuals who are having this nauseating sense of entitlement that they have the levers of control of PDP, or if they don't have it, else everybody to go to war. These are the problems of the party. Let us address this thing as it is. I ask these questions, and they should please answer me. Since 1999, the PDP has gone into 9 national elections. And among all these national 9 elections, when was the time, they should tell me 1 or 2 times that PDP has enforced zoning. Zoning was put in that constitution, or rotation as it may be, just to, is a kind of guide. It was not sacrosanct. So zoning can never be. In 1999, we saw candidate from North-South contested. In 2003, the same thing. In 2007, Peter Odili would have become the president if he had not been stopped by the president then brought about Yaradua. In 2011, Atiku and Jonathan contested, and Jonathan won, in spite of the fact that there was an agreement that this should not be. The only time that it was all northern affairs was 2019, and they said because of what is coming, and that's how you saw all of them. And Atiku won. In 2019, people didn't ever talk about zoning. Why this hypocrisy? Because people felt they're entitled. And that means that, again, let me tell you this: the Atiku that I know, that I see, has moved on, has moved away from this party thing. Atiku is focusing on Nigeria, how to redeem and rescue Nigeria, and that is what the man is doing. So if you don't like it, the simple truth is this: anybody's ambition should not be any problem to anybody. It is legitimate. Whether Bala Mohammed wants to run is legitimate. Whether Sheikh Magde wants to run is his legitimate right under the constitution. If Atiku wants to run, if Wike wants to run, is their legitimate right.
Mr. Fabi, my apologies. Mr. Fabi, just a moment, just to add to what you said. This is the problem that politicians have, and I'm going to tell you what that problem is. The assumption that it's all about how the political party thinks. Are you thinking about what Section 14 of the Constitution says about a sense of belonging? Those are the terms, those are the words in our agronym: belonging and inclusion. So are you dismissing the fact that there is no valid argument around when the North rules, the South rules, even if it's not in our Constitution in that sense? Is that what you're saying? I want you to be bold about it.
What I'm telling you is very clear. Let me tell you something. In situations like this, the onus of zoning lies on the ruling government, not on the opposition that is still finding its feet. Check PDP. When PDP was in power, did you see AD or ACN talking about zoning? Because they're in opposition. And opposition must do whatever that will make them win election. The onus is on the APC. APC is in government, and PDP cannot act on the dictate of the APC. Is wrong. PDP has his rules. He has his own thing. So we should run away from this sentiment. And let us face it. The owners of that, of zoning, APC cannot come today and now say they are returning power back to the South. People will go against them. People, naturally, they must go to the North. And it's not the responsibility of the PDP to do that. We cannot. PDP cannot act on the dictates or the action or activities of APC. It's never done. Where do you see that done? So that is my point. So they shouldn't put this on his zoning is this, it's all sentiment. People must do whatever that. Why did they leave you open in 2023? Because Governor Wike believed he could win the primary election. And unfortunately, he lost it. So these are the issues. So those who are bent on destroying this party are on it, and they would stop at nothing to do it. If a minister could come out and say, I'm working for the president, governor of Akwa Ibom said he's working for the president, what does this mean anything to anybody?
All right, Mr. Fabi, let's
be realistic in our assessment.
Let's take it to Mr. Corey. Mr. Corey, I would like you to react to what Mr. Fabi has said. Clearly, this is a debate that is going to continue for a very long time, but he's seen his position and his annotations as to how politicians think. I always tell people there's a way politicians think, there's a way the regular citizens think. But again, PDP has done something yesterday, and it's important we posit this. nobody should be able to hold any party to ransom. We don't expect Bola Tinubu or Muhammadu Buhari, former president, to be able to hold a party to ransom. So it is also not good for anybody, whether it's Wike or Atiku, to hold a party to ransom. That's why the Labour Party perhaps is also struggling. You can't build an institution around the person. So putting that at the back of your mind, he is saying that don't blame people that have ambition as a problem. So where should we place the blame here?
You want me to take a mirror and turn it around so that you can see yourselves, right? See, to any beautiful woman, whoever marries her is not the only person that was speaking to her. Everybody will make their attempt. And at the end of the day, it's the person who she is interested in that she will go with. Likewise, political parties. I've told you, politics is not logic. It's not 1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1 is 11. The APC, for all I care, even the NNPP and any other political party that feels it has political strategy, can do whatever it takes to not break up the PDP, to attract members out of the PDP who have been experienced, right? That's politics for you, because they're building consensus. As you heard Ganduje say, our doors are open to everybody. And the president said, sweep them clean. Use that broom and bring in as many as possible. If that is their capacity and their strategy, that's all well and good for them. Now, the question here for the PDP is, I've said it before, it's elementary. It's in their convention and their constitution to share power. If they agree and they believe that, oh, in 2025, the PDP should evolve from a party that is, that is pivoted on power sharing on a zonal basis, and say, oh, let us leave it to merits. Let us leave it to who is able to contribute the most to PDP. It's a political party. By the Supreme Court ruling, they're entitled to design their own rules. If that is how they want it, then that next meeting should have been about, can we amend zoning into merit-based election? Can you remember in, I think it was in Lagos, when there was a political wrangling over the position of Ambode? The APC, which already had enshrined indirect voting with delegates, just because they wanted to create a scenario and achieve an objective, they amended their party policy to direct voting. That's what gave rise to what you saw, and Ambode was removed. Simple. It's not that difficult. A political party can decide how, when, and where it wants to go. That's what I expect the PDP to do. There's no problem now. We're not holding the PDP to ransom. If they don't believe in zoning anymore, I don't believe in it, because that's not a best position to actually vote who you want to lead you. Voting, democratic excellence should come from merits, should come from the fact that whoever is the candidate has proven himself across time, that we can all see that is verifiable, that this person can lead us forward, not by your ethnicity. We all know how, even though federal character was a solution back in the day to create some balance because of the politics of this country, we always know that it has never produced the best candidates. So for the PDP, they simply need to agree and amend their own rules. If they're able to amend their own rules, this burden that has been on them, that has been the root of their division, a person like Wike will have nothing to say. At that point, what claim will he have to, we're not following our own rules anymore? All right. Amend your rules or follow the ones that you have.
Amend your rules or follow the ones that you have. It looks like a tough one, but Mr. Fabi, final words from you. You said that Mr. Atiku Abubakar is now focusing on, nation building. I think that's how you put it. Correct me if I'm wrong. So would you support him then, saying, at this point, having gotten to this level, now is the time for me to support somebody, a Peter Obi, or someone in that sense, as part of his own sacrifice to the nation? Because for a lot of people, they're saying, do you really want to run for president again?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I've not heard Mr. Atiku saying he's going to run. I've never, if you heard him anywhere, just tell me. But he has connection, he has network across the country. He has huge numbers of people who believe in what he represents and his vision for this country. Those people are the ones saying, please come and run across the country. Come and run. He has never said, I am going to run. Atiku is presently preoccupied with how do we reclaim this country. He believes the country is not doing well. How do we reclaim it? How do we make it better? And that's exactly what he's doing. And you see, he's not even involving himself in all the shenanigans of the PDP anymore. Right? But he's still a member of the party. He has never said he's not a member of the party. So having said that, let me tell you something. There's no, in history, we have found that there is no way a single party can defeat an incumbent. Not even an incumbent that is well entrenched. In the way they are doing that, you know, they are holding everybody through intimidation and all that so that they can be with them. It's not. And that is why Atiku is calling, because of his vision. He said, guys, let us come together as opposition parties. Whether it's Peter Obi or El-Rufai, anybody, we're all in opposition now. And we need to come back together because we have a duty when things are not going right to rescue this country. And that's what the man is saying. So if Atiku decide today that he's going to, you know, listen to the call and voice of majority of his people who believe in him, that is going to, I will support him because I believe in what he represents. I know, number one, he's fit, he's healthy, age has nothing to do with it. President, what is it called in America? Biden left because of health issues. Atiku does not have any health issues. He's still sound, he's of sound mind, he's still sharp. So if he says he wants to run, why should I say, I mean, he shouldn't run. Why should anybody say Atiku should not run and step down for anybody? Is it about age? It's not about age. If you say somebody should come and run, I'll ask you this question. What does that person have that Atiku does not have in terms of leadership, in terms of capacity, in terms of experience? Which is really matter. In the ladder of leadership, I don't see age there. Age is not there. So if the man says, I'm fit, I want to run, yes, I will support him. I will support Atiku with my full chest. I've always supported him because I believe in what he represents. And so many other people like that also believe in what he represents. So don't tell anybody to step down for anybody. Atiku has not told anybody to step down for him. If you want to defeat Atiku, meet him on the field. And that is the fear of Wike and the rest. They tried him in 2019, defeated them. They tried him in 2023, defeated them. They are afraid that if he goes to the primaries now, this is the bane of the problem. And Atiku has never said he's going to run anyway. So as far as I'm concerned, please, Nigerians should be objective enough. This is not about emotion, this is not about sentiment, but it's about how to rescue this country and who is best fit to run it.
Mr. Fabi, we have to thank you so much. Mr. Atiku Abubakar, 78 years old, the president, Tinubu, 73, Mr. Peter Obi, 63. Clearly some age difference there, but you say age is just a number, it's not an issue. Well, Nigerians will decide eventually after the parties get their acts together. We're speaking with Mr. Oladimiji Fabi, who is the Director of Support Groups of the PDP Presidential Campaign Council for 2023. Looks like he'll be playing a major role in 2027 as well, but time will tell. As well as a political development expert, Mr. Devo Kore. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
Well, that's a look at the state of the umbrella. But we'll take a quick break now. When we return, let's talk about the loans. What are these loans for? Is this the right time? What more must we do as a National Assembly and as a people to ensure transparency and accountability? That's next on the program. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Let's talk about the new borrowings by the federal government written. The president has actually written to the National Assembly, the House of Representatives yesterday, requesting a $21.5 billion new borrowings that is expected to fund a couple of things. And there's another borrowing that has to do with pensions and all of that. We're going to break it down on the program. But this has gotten a lot of Nigerians talking, given where we're coming from. With the experience of the previous administration that this administration had to deal with. And towards the end of the last administration, there was a securitization across 40 years just to make sure that is sorted out in terms of our ways or means that was totally reckless in how it was managed. Let's bring in our professor, President, Nigerian Economic Society, Professor Adiola Anedikinju. He joins us virtually. Prof, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much for having me. Good morning.
Prof, I think, you know, the always natural way is your quick reaction to this new borrowing. I was listening to a few people. Nigerians are already angry because they are going through so much. They are not seeing the results that they expect to see. The government is saying, hold on, it's going to come. just relax. These are the, painful season of the reforms, and Nigerians are not seeing new borrowings. Whether the intent is good or bad, Nigerians don't want to hear. So what do you make of this new borrowing, sir?
Thank you very much, Jeff. I think understandably, maybe a lot of people will be worried, and the reasons are very clear. The pile-up of debts, in the last couple of years, is getting a lot of people concerned because debt is not a free lunch. It's going to be paid for either by the present or the future generations. It's also when you are going to service the debt, it's going to be at the cost. For instance, if you look at the budget this year, the debt servicing, overwhelms even capital expenditure. So it's a very serious business that has to be given very, very deep analysis. It has to be done, with great concerns. And if you look at the current debt, the current loan request by the Mr. President, $21.5 billion. That's a whole lot of money. The current external debts, depending on where you look at, is around $45 billion. So if you are going to bring in almost $22 billion in 2 years to add to that stock, that is about 60% leap. That is huge. That's massive. And therefore, it is very important that a deep analysis is done. Nigeria should be told why this plan to be contracted. Though some of the reasons we know, the 2025 project is going to be difficult to implement because a lot of the parameters are not just working, in reality. And therefore, you need to get some revenue to ensure that the budget is implemented to some level of credibility. And if you don't want to increase tax, your tax rate, then maybe debt is the option that the president is going for. But that raises a lot of questions.
Prof, they've highlighted a few things, the reasons for the borrowing. They said the significant infrastructure deficit, paucity of financial resources, declining domestic demand, and so this has caused them for prudent economic borrowing to close the financial shortfall. And they also recognize the fact that this will increase public debt stock as well as debt servicing obligations. So let's go back, Prof, to the very beginning. This is 2 years down the line. Exactly tomorrow will make it 2 years down the line since its administration. Where did they get it wrong in budgeting for 2025? The reason I ask, because I listened to Okonjo-Iweala, the former Minister of Finance, who is the WTO DG, and one of the things they did then under the Obasanjo administration was actually to do some delinking of the budget from volatility of oil price. So simply what they did was to be less ambitious and put oil price as low as it can so that the fluctuation and volatility doesn't affect it, which we now have the excess funds that we use to buffer our external reserve. Do you think this budgeting process was too overambitious and wasn't well thought through? That's why we're here. And what does this say for the nearest future?
Yeah, I mean, that is a very important point that you just made. If you are dealing with a commodity that is very, like oil is a very volatile, commodity, and we've had experience in Nigeria. I remember, we went through a process of this volatility that led to huge debt accumulation when we had to get debt forgiveness and so on and so forth. So during development plan, as it were at that time, it was, the oil sector was ring-fenced, okay? So that the economy's growth is not going to depend on on what happens in the oil sector. So the price was capped, the output was capped, so that the economy will be driven by the non-oil sector, not the oil sector. Two, like Riley said, the oil price, benchmark under the Okonjo-Iweala was deliberately set very low, okay? So that you mitigate, the possible effects of volatility on the economy. And that helped us at that time to build, the excess food account that, accumulated over $20 billion at some point and helped us through the 2008 global, financial crisis. But subsequently, and the last couple of years, we are not doing that. both the price and the quantity are ambitiously, specified in the budget proposal, so that it becomes extremely difficult to meet them, and hinder us from being able to build a fiscal buffer. And one thing I say about the current government is that it's like they are very ambitious. They want to do so many things that and that is really leading to a whole lot of these challenges that they are faced with. I mean, we've just removed fuel subsidy. Last 2 years ago, the fuel subsidy was removed. Okay, adjustments have been made in energy prices. Exchange rate has been unified. Now, these have brought massive revenue to government. So revenue has increased significantly. So the question is, why do we then still need to amass all of this debt, at the same time? Okay, so that is really a real challenge that we really need to. I mean, there's nothing wrong as economists. We don't say that debts are wrong in themselves. Okay, but there are a lot of parameters we have to look at to be ensured that this debt that you want to accumulate, the net impact of the economy is going to be significantly positive in terms of job creation, economic growth, infrastructural developments, export diversifications, and the rest of them. There are a lot of metrics we have to. And then you also have to look at how do you pay back these debts? Okay, is the debt going to crowd out private investment? Is it the debt going to lead to give you foreign exchange risk? Because when you are paying back, that's going to be some massive, demand on your exchange, your exchange rate, and so on and so forth. And as you go to crowd out capital, the interest rates, will it crowd out capital investment in education and the rest of them?
Well, Prof.
Then, how you ensure that this thing will be repaid? Okay, yes, quiet, please.
Pardon me, I just wanted to link this to the bigger picture, which I think you made reference to. On the one hand, it's been said time and again that borrowing is not bad, but the challenge is usually what is it used for, what kind of effect will it have? We've gone down this road before, and a lot of times when we look back, it's still a lot of regrets, uncertainty, lack of clarity. You can't even see some of the projects that these borrowings were meant to, be for in the past. But the big picture, as I've said, that Nigeria needs about $3 trillion over the next 30 years to plug its infrastructure gap. Recently, the Minister of Power was saying Nigeria needs $10 billion yearly for the power sector if it at least wants to make significant improvement. So we have a huge infrastructure deficit, housing, the roads, and all of that. And I think in the letter, which was read by the President of the Senate, he said that the funds, that's the borrowings for 2025-2026, will primarily be directed towards critical infrastructure projects, including sectors of power, railways, healthcare, amongst others. While this is now before the Senate's Committee on Local and Foreign Debts, we hope that they will do a good job. My question to you, Prof, is, so what must we do differently this time? Because this burden is huge. Children, maybe grandchildren will probably have to pay this. So what must be done differently from your perspective, seeing that we have a huge infrastructure deficit?
Yeah. Thank you very, very much, Cowdy. I mean, that's an excellent question. And that's why I refrain from saying it's bad, because, again, if you look at the metrics, like I said, the minimum debt GDP ratio, if you look at the fact that, we have all of the infrastructure deficit, the fact that, even 2025 budget is difficult to be implemented with the current reality of the oil sector and so on and so forth. So that, and because, this government also had a lot of ambitions in terms of, some of, putting in place infrastructural development and the rest of them. So what must we do differently? You see, I mean, my point has always been that the National Assembly should also have a complementary body within the National Assembly that can, that can put all of this debt into deep, thorough analysis, empirical analysis. In the US, you have a body, CBA or whatever it is called, that has its own models, or that run this model or this desk and look at the implications on the economy, the macroeconomy, to be able to answer the questions whether it is really worth us taking this debt. The federal government has said, we have done our own analysis. It's going to impact on employment. It's going to do all of A, B, C, D, and E. Now, those who are going to approve that loan should also be able to put all of these loans through its own, independent analysis that will come out with what will be the impact on this debt, on all of those macroeconomic outcomes and the repayment of those loans. That has to be done. Two, it is not only government alone that can build infrastructure. It's only government alone that can intervene in a lot of these sectors. You must create the incentives that allow the private sectors to come and play. Okay, I mean, we have a whole lot of things going on in the what's it called, telecommunication sector, fixed sector. The government is not there. So how do we put in place the incentive structure that allow the private sector to be able to come and play? I mean, if you look at the demands for some of even the local bonds and the rest of them, you will see that there's a deep fund, there's a deep money in this country, that is waiting for where to invest. So let's create those infrastructure. And there are so many institutions that government had created, that also drive some of these investments, okay? In the PPP fashion, or, provide some basis for the private sector to come in. This country is huge. Electricity could generate a lot of money. Transportation could generate a lot of money, if we create those infrastructure for the private sector. And two, is that we must ensure that, for this debt for us to easily to repay, this economy must go at certain rates. I mean, we must generate at least 4% GDP growth rate continuously, minimum, to ensure that the payment for this debt does not impose some burden on Nigeria. So what are we doing to be able to achieve all of that? So yes, a lot of needs, the gaps are there, but it's not always that government sector, the public sector, and because again, if you look at the public sector, the inefficiency of public sector is also always there. In Nigeria, it has been certified that Nigeria has one of the highest costs of public infrastructure in the whole world, not just in the whole world. The cost of building road in Nigeria, public roads in Nigeria, compared to other parts of the world, is one of the highest, and the quality is not even also as good. So we need to find a way of ensuring that we get other, non-government agents, actors, to be able to participate in this infrastructure development and other areas.
Quite important points there, but let me ask you a very candid question. With the setup of the government as you see it now, the president, his cabinet, the National Assembly meant to perform oversight functions. You've talked about the MDAs and the rest. Does this government strike you as a prudent government that you can trust with this quantum of funds to be able to efficiently and effectively manage it?
The way to answer that question is we should put in place institutions. It's not about the individual government. Tinubu government will come and go. In fact, that's why we need to ensure. You see, when you incur death now, it also imposes some constraints on government that are coming after you. Okay, or some obligations in terms of how they're going to perform. If you have government that will not perform well, okay, even after you may have very good and noble ideas when you incur those debts. Now, these are long-term debts that require some payment structure, some obligations. And after you live for 8 years, how do you ensure that the government that will come after you will be so prudent, will be so efficient, as to be able to, ensure that these debts are paid back without, put a lot of problems on the future generations. So you cannot guarantee what will come after you. So the important thing is to put in place the institutional structure. And the last time I had opportunity to address the Senate, during the 2025 budget, I insisted that they must create an institution that allows them to be, to be independent in a way to be able to analyze all of these policies, 10 years, 5 years, 10 years to this. To this point, because this debt is not just a short-term impact, it's going to have medium, it's going to have long-term impact, and there must be a way of quantifying all of those impacts, and to be ensured that there are conditions that are in place, there are shares that are in place, issues around transparency that are in place to ensure that, one, these debts are paid without imposing unnecessary burden on Nigeria, and two, that we can see the infrastructure, we can see the agricultural intervention, we can see all of these other things that those debts are, are used for.
All right.
So accountability is very important.
Okay.
Very important.
Yeah, Prof, thank you so much for your insight. In fact, I'm looking at it again. I just know that the government needs a lot of work in terms of fiscal management. I'm looking at 757 billion naira pension bond. And this is because they've been struggling across different administrations to meet pension obligations. So technically, we are borrowing or floating this bond, which is a smart way to do it, to be able to meet recurrent expenditure. I don't know. It's just worrying. Prof, thank you so much for coming on the program and for your insight. For as much as possible, we'll bring you in to give interpretation to some of these things that Nigerians struggle to, get to understand, because they expect a lot more from government. Professor Adiola Adenikinju, President, Nigerian Economic Society, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so very much.
And from here, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll get to the pages of the social media. That's how we choose to call it, right here on the program. Join us again.
So let's begin with your reactions to President Bola Tinubu's request for fresh borrowings for 2025-2026 period. So the National Assembly, particularly the Senate President, read out that letter that, well, $21.5 billion in loans, 758 billion naira pension bond, at least that's domestic, the approval is being sought by the president. And take a look at what this user, Iwejo Bride, says loan for what? And I know that that's, well, the kind of question majority of Nigerians are asking, what is this for? What is this for yet again? It says, aren't we an oil-producing country? That's from Iwejo Bright, the very first comment on this one, if you could just put that up for you to see. So the Senate President read out some of the targets for this particular loan, power, infrastructure, and all of that. But a lot of people are saying we need more specifics. Jeffrey.
Let's go to the next user who said, this is Lau_Kani. If we can get the next user up. Now, money, you did take fine money, for better infrastructure, the more prosperous the country will become. Sort out the electricity problem. Road rails connect the regions by highway, and rail will make it cheaper to move around, too expensive for small business to fly around. So anyway, this person perhaps is trying to defend the government or give a reason or justify the borrowings for borrowing money. At the end of the day, we're talking about borrowings here. Everybody borrows one way or the other, but responsible borrowing. So if it's a company, there's something they call gearing ratio, your ability. So from your monies you have, whether you're able to fund the obligation, whether through equity or loan, we're always borrowing. Our budget, for instance, right now, debt servicing, I forgot, is that between 13 to 15 trillion naira.
We're very good. Will I call us good debtors?
That is out of the $38 billion that we're, but so you can imagine how much that comes to in dollars. Yeah. So for me, the National Assembly should do what is right. Help Nigerians bring this thing. Let's see it line by line, just like we see in the budget. Let's see line by line as to what these monies are meant for.
That's how to build trust.
I expect them to even cut it down.
That's how to
and not give the federal government all of these monies.
And to that first comment that says, aren't we an oil-producing country?
We're not doing well with that.
Exactly. The story of oil in Nigeria is beyond what you see. So
it's
when
like jazz.
2 million barrels per day, the money coming to Nigeria is not the 2 million barrels per day. Really, their obligations is basically shared. So eventually, what Nigeria gets is way lower than that.
Let's not even make it too ambitious. We're 2023, we did 1.2 average, 1.3 last year. We're doing 1.4. We're fairly better now. Crude oil alone, condensate can add up at the end. So what can come to Nigeria? Maybe 700.
After you've done all the sharing. So we can't even meet.
We may not be able. If everybody down to the refinery, everybody is working, we'll find it difficult to meet our domestic crude demand, DCSO as they call it. So there's voila.
So that answers that question. This user, Samtex, says the problem is not about loan, but taking loans without putting in things or putting it in things that will generate revenue to pay back the loans is this user's problem. Nigerian leaders borrow money to fund their lifestyle and political engagement. And that's why we ask, what must we do differently this time around? There must be better transparency, accountability for these borrowings. So The Senate, National Assembly must do the tough job. Jeffrey.
Okay, that's what we're saying. This is not the time to, allow people call you rubber stamp again. Do the needful. Let's go to the one the president, this is a video. Of course, whenever the president comes, I think some people just make up their mind that I'm going to film the convoy of the president. So President Bola Tinubu convoy as he lands in Lagos ahead of the Salah. He came in yesterday. I wish we could show that video so people can get to see. So this is the president's convoy. As politicians, as the president is here, all of a sudden governors will leave their states and leave the work that the people send them to go and do. You will see now, everybody will now be visiting Lagos. I know of a particular governor, I won't call names, he's never around. He's never around. So you can count the SUVs, the Land Cruiser, all the big vehicles. So this is somewhere on the island, the president arriving for the holidays and some of the ECOWAS engagement he has in Nigeria's Commercial Nerve Center, which is the states where he resides before he became president.
I'm actually counting 40, 41.
Oh, you're counting?
Yeah.
43, oh, really? I'm not
45,
counting.
46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51. Oh, they're not done? Oh, dear. The camera should... No, you have just one job.
You have just one job, cameraman, man. Keep counting.
Where did I stop? 53?
Let's just say 55, 56. Let's count FRS, 57.
58, 59. Come on, stay on it. But that's the president's convoy. That is a lot. It's a lot. Jeffrey, you should see there's this economy again, and that's what I want to term it. The economy of the people that surround politicians. So on a given day, and I'm talking the average politician, could be a lawmaker, even at the state level, Jeffrey, you'll have tons of people waiting at their homes, at their offices. Jeffrey, just waiting.
I just feel that government should be a bit more prudent with our resources. So states, take Akwa Ibom now, the governor is about to defect, and he's been dashing out cars. Lawmakers at the federal level who already are rich are getting new cars. I think the APC chairman, who the party hasn't defected to, has gotten a car. I understand, I heard that the deputy governors, all former deputy governors are also being given cars. So there's enough. I understand that some of his assistants, their monies have now been increased. I suspect that, I think I heard some stories about the university, the state university planning to embark on a strike because some of them are angry that political quote-unquote stalwarts, as they call them, are getting increase in payment for doing little or nothing besides being political capital, and lecturers who are killing themselves to lecture students are earning far less. So this is common in every state. It's not Akwa Ibom, not just Akwa Ibom, Rivers State. I covered Rivers State. I covered a couple of other states. You just see them giving cars to people that are already rich and well-to-do and all of that, just dashing people's money. What kind of political recklessness are we practicing in Nigeria?
Believe it.
But if you talk, they think you're an enemy of the state.
Jeffrey, all of this is usually geared towards a re-election. And we've seen the re-election drive for President Tinubu. In fact, Senator Orji Uzor-Kalu appeared at the Senate chamber dressed in campaign. So I wouldn't call this adire, right? but you can see the print all over Tinubu for President 2027. And, that caused quite a stir. You can see that logo, the president's logo, and the attire. Believe me, Jeffrey, this material will be sold out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people want to show face and show support. For the president. So 2027, by the way, is still 2 years away, but you think it's next week with these activities.
I don't blame, I personally don't blame politicians for being politicians, because this is political sycophancy. What else do you expect? He's a member of the party.
I don't say it's fashion.
He's a member of the party. He supports the president with his full chest. He believes in the president. So I don't think people should be crucified for how they choose to support who they choose to support. But this is a common practice. We're just saying the beginning. What I don't understand is the haste. Everybody's in a hurry. People are defecting in a hurry. People are aligning. What exactly is going on with the struggle and the pain that Nigerians have been subjected to by the policies of this government that we have not seen the results yet? It looks like it's already Uhuru. Say, the thing has now worked. We were wrong to overjudge this president. Let's now support him. The thing has not worked. And yet we're seeing all of this. So this is clearly sycophancy. But I'm not going to blame him. is a party man. He has a right to do this. And some people should actually support the president at the end of the day.
They'll tell you that, hey, my people, this is what my people want, my constituents. So I'm doing what they want. So over to the constituents now. Are your representatives doing what you want? But Jeffrey, we must speak to this video.
Which one is that?
From Akwa Ibom.
Oh,
you know, we've seen the fashion side of this,
governor.
but let's talk about the music part of it. You had a lot of, you know, the big politicians in the state singing this song. Take a listen to this song.
Celebrate distinguished Senator F.L. Dixon Bob dancing with his eyes.
Oh, Akwa Ibom has been in the news lately for so many reasons, and this is because of the move of the... That is Senator F.Young Bob. He's a former senator. I think he owns a media outfit in the state. So there's a lot going on. Perhaps I feel that the governor may be having a bit of tough time convincing some people to join in, which is why I think he's also a very honest man. He tries to speak his mind at the end of the day. So that's why he told his commissioners, I'm not forcing you, but if I defect, you don't defect, we're going to have a problem. So, but there's a lot going on in Akwa Ibom about alignment and realignment. So perhaps these are all part of it to influence the changes and all of that. So that's the man in his local government. I think Sidu Biom also saying, we're going to follow you. Gaze Baba has a song, he has an artist coming for him. But it's a lot going on in the state. But I also want to call the attention of the governor while he's doing his politics and defecting and all of that. About 20 people or less or so are still in the hands of abductors that were captured since Good Friday. I think that's the 18th of May. So this is 18th of last month, I should say. Over a month now, between the Oron and Calabar corridor, those guys have still not been rescued. That should be a priority, not defecting and politics and all of that. But with the greatest sense of respect to him, a great guy, but let's governance continue. Let's politics not overtake governance. That's what we're saying. We'll take a quick break, guys, and we'll be back after this for more conversations. Join us again.
Yesterday was Children's Day, and you could see the statements, the pictures, everything flying around. Still, everything were hunky-dory. We celebrated our children, absolutely. But beyond the celebration, what are we doing to ensure that we end abuse, labor, neglect, ensure that there are stronger laws, and more importantly, that we take action to back up those laws. So lest we forget the real issues, we're joined on the program by Mr. Akinlaye Olu-Phillips, a champion of literacy, leadership, and communication for the Nigerian Child. He's Executive Director, Pete Phillips Foundation. He's live with us from our Abuja studio. You're welcome to the Morning Brief, Mr. Olu-Phillips. So children can only do as much, right? Everybody is a lover of children on Children's Day. But when it comes to the laws, taking action, it's not the same. So maybe you might want to review Nigeria's position or our situation right now when it comes to doing right by our children in terms of the laws and the action as well.
Thank you for having me. Good morning to the audience at home. All right, the truth is the laws are good. We have the Child Rights Act and we have the Child Labor Act as well. All these laws are good as it in themselves. But just like you rightly said, action is very key to the fulfillment of certain things within the laws. You know, it's how we tend to handle some of these things that will determine the result we'll get at the end of the day. You know, because basically we're not paying premium attention to a lot of things. And we should start looking at how nations evolve, how nations developed, and then we can then see that our children are a key part to our evolution as a nation. Because when we neglect the future, we're obviously telling ourselves that we're not taking ourselves serious because we keep looking at the economic factor. There are a lot of issues we talk about. We talk about poverty being one of the major challenges in raising the next generation right or doing the right things. And this is what leads, most parents will tell you that they don't have money, that's why they don't send their children to school. They don't have, it's poverty that makes them not do certain things. However, the actions to getting this thing right is what we should focus on. And which comes to education, educating the parents themselves. What are the rules and what should we do to ensure that people understand the dynamics of what they are doing, as in the children labor, putting them to work at an early age, not getting them the right literacy level, not putting them in schools. We should, I think government should come to a place where we need to educate the citizens to know exactly the danger inherent in horse not doing the right things by the children.
So, speak to us then about what we must do beyond just the conversations. As I said earlier on, the statements were put out. Everybody is a lover of children. Education on the one hand. The states, local states and federal governments have their responsibilities. The parents also have their responsibilities to children. And they'll tell you that you can tell a lot about a country by the way it treats its elderly and its children. So is this something that needs more legislation? Is it something that needs more, introspection as a nation to ask, what do we want to make of these children? Is this something that needs more funding? What exactly are our needs first, so we can begin to identify and say, okay, this is what we need to do?
First and foremost, it's a social issue. So more introspection is what we really need. We can't legislate a lot of things. We can only put laws in place just to guide. However, whatever it is we are doing must have a human face. We must first know that these things are not right. A parent that does not know that not educating his or his children is a bad thing may not see the importance of it. You understand? So if government is going, it's not just, because most times when we look at these issues, we tend to put them at the corridor of just government. Everything, when we have issues in our nation, government this, government that. However, government will take the lead, first and foremost, in training, educating, informing the populace to knowing the right thing. If we're going to look at, take an example, for example, we all see China today as a superpower. But we need to go back to how China evolved into what it is today. When Chairman Mao came, and he kept harping on literacy, increasing the literacy level, building the literacy level in the country, bringing about the sovereignty of the nation, and then giving people ownership of the land itself. By the time he was leaving, it looks like he didn't quite succeed in governance. However, today we can see the result of that literacy level that he championed. So in the first place, when government takes leadership in this, then the mass media, like we have right now, to ensure that proper education process takes place to the parents. Because the truth is this, the economy has a strong role it plays when people are poor. Like I said, the reason why I said we should look at China is when Chairman Mao was doing this, the country was extremely poor. You understand? So when you look at the situation we have on ground right now in Nigeria, it's almost look like the same. So poverty level is so high, and then everybody has an excuse why we don't pay attention to the children. So we need to make this thing have a human face by ensuring that we let the people, the generality of our nation knows that, look, if we don't do right, we will not get it right and we will not go anywhere as a nation. We will still remain poor, we will still remain beggarly, until we start letting that everybody knows that all hands must be on deck. Meaning that when government, naturally we have all the laws in place already, So saying that, okay, law or putting laws to, like, making sure that we punish things and all that. For me, it's not about punishment or what the law will bring to bear on people that violate the law. The most important thing is how do we let the people understand the dynamics, the danger that is involved in this. Because it is when they know that they can, for example, during the Jonathan era, the Ahmadiyya schools came up and all that. I don't know what had become of that at the end of the day, because we haven't taken time to give proper education, knowledge to the people, I mean parents particularly, for them to understand the danger in not educating, allowing their children to go to school. You understand? If you look at the ratio right now, it's almost about 26% that we are having as child literacy. That's quite very low. Between ages 7 and 14, a lot of children are out there selling, and you know the worst part is now most young people end up as house help because they want to help the family as well. But on the other hand, if the education is proper, even you, even you that wants to hire that child will know that you're doing the wrong thing, because we need to let people understand this. We need to make them feel that it's very, very dangerous if we don't do the right thing by these children.
All right, Mr. Phillips, I want you to add to some of the things you've said, and my question will revolve around signals. The reason you go to the UK and you and I go to anywhere in the global north and we compose ourselves, whether it's traffic law or behavior around the opposite gender and all of that, is because the signals are quite clear. When it comes to the safety and protection of a child in Nigeria, do you think that by the management of it, we've sent the right signals to the society to say these children need as much protection as possible and there'll be consequence for not doing just that?
We've not sent the right signal. And that was why that was what I was saying when I said, look, we need to educate the people more. The signals comes through education. We put all the processes in place to ensure that people knows exactly the danger in this. And I think that's where government comes in now, because they will take the lead in that to ensure that the proper signals are put in place so that people knows what to do. So that when you are not educating the child, when you're abusing a child, you know that, okay, again, I talked about the Child Rights Act and the Labor Act. You'll be amazed that a lot of people don't even know it exists. So it's part of the education process. When we let people see the laws in place, and when you violate the law, the consequences of the violation of the law. You know, so it's all boils down to the mass, which is one of the things you're doing with this kind of conversation that is taking place on your platform today. So we will need to have multiples of these going on simultaneously at the same time. You know, the truth is the government must pay premium attention to this, because the truth is, if we're not doing it right now, it's like you're not raising up your child well and you amass a lot of wealth. At the end of the day, the wealth will become nothing if you raise a child that is not properly tutored on how to manage it at the end of the day. So the signals are not in place. There are none at all at the moment. Non-existence. It's just maybe we have a lot of non-governmentals that are doing their own level best to add value to the society through what they are doing, through their initiatives and all that. But currently, as it is right now, I can't see it.
Should we begin to have a conversation around population? And this is a very touchy subject, understandably so, but there are questions around the role of parents as well. You hear 10 million out-of-school children in Nigeria, majority of them in northern Nigeria. You hear about children who have never stepped foot in school. A lot of them are dropouts as a result of the economic condition of their parents, right? So you have a lot of children that are brought into this world, but they're not given the very best. Not because of their faults, clearly, but because the parent has a lot of children, some of them 5, and they're staying in a dinghy. So do we begin to have that conversation, really? Because I think it's a very important one that we maybe overlook for various reasons, either religious, ethnic, or all of that. Is that a conversation we should start having as well?
Yeah, it's a conversation we must start. We need to. It's very, very urgent as it were right now. However, let's take a look back into the western part of the country. You'll see that many people say, oh, the Yoruba-speaking part of the country, they are very educated. It didn't just happen. We were like, together, all of us were like this before the advent in the 60s when the Action Group and by extension the UPN came up with a policy of education. That's when you start having the Jack-on-day schools, and so everybody had to ensure that their children goes to school. The education at that point to parents is such that you'll be doing the wrong thing, you know. And also they've been able to see the power of education. They've seen what it does, and everybody start looking up to that. So that's why I think also the other parts of the country must start saying that and ensuring that, say, for example, the parent you just mentioned, what you don't know, you can't do anything about. You understand? The parents themselves are as ignorant as you. You'll be shocked when you sit with an average parent in these communities you talked about right now, and you tell them the significance of ensuring that their words and their children are properly educated and or tutored. You'll be shocked at the level of exposure they themselves have towards this, because it's about the fact that they don't even know. They don't know. And I think the government in these regions must be sincere. It's not about religion, actually. I'll be honest with you. It's not about religion. We must be sincere enough to know that to get a very structured and developed society, a society where they themselves will be proud of, they need to educate their people. Parents, some parents don't even know. We need to let them see the importance, because they see it as a Western education. No. We need to know that it's not just about the West now. It's about the literacy to live in communities. Or we start looking at our culture, because most of these issues stems from the fact that, oh, this is who we are. So why bringing education into it? Education is going to erode and make of none effect our culture and our ways. Right. You understand? So people tend to be a bit jealous about that. They tend to want to hold on to who they are, and they feel any form of education that comes will infiltrate the culture and change their ways and destroy who they are as a people. All right. So that's why I think we need, like you rightly said earlier about the signals, we need to bring all these things in place. Right. A serious government must see that this is very important, and they must come up with means and plans and strategies to ensure that we permeate the entire nation with the knowledge of the fact that it's very key and very important that our children are educated.
So these conversations must not just be for Children's Day, as we're having right now. It must last, and actions must also follow. We have to thank you so much, Mr. Akileo Olu-Phillips, for your time on the program today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Right, we'll take a break now, and when we return, we'll head over to Accra, Ghana. Why? Well, you have to wait to find out. Stay with us.
Welcome back. Let's bring in Jeffrey Nolte, a comedian and an actor. You might have seen him on your screens at different times. Jeffrey, thank you so much for coming on the program. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fantastic. So you're my namesake. It's just that your name is spelled differently from mine. Joining us from Accra, Ghana. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome. Yourself?
Yeah, we're doing pretty well. So let's talk to you about the journey of your craft. We always like to start from there to help chronicle that journey and put it on record, because people don't just appear. They had walked off many things to be where they are today. But tell us about how you started off and how you're balancing being a comedian and being an actor.
Okay, so I didn't know that one day I'll be interviewed and be tagged as a comedian, because I started as as an actor in the film industry. You know, as a budding actor, there were times where the scripts weren't coming. So what did I do? It was all about the burning desire within me, not really about the money then. And I decided to put the camera on myself, put the camera on myself, so that there's this kind of fulfillment that it comes with if you're passionate about something. Then from there, I started doing skits. Fast forward, it picked up. People were tapping me on the back. Oh, your skits are different. Your skits are with good quality. I'm like, yes, because I'm an actor, I'm coming from the film space. So fast forward, an actor sprouting in the space of comedy. And here we are. I mean, if it's working for you, why don't you put in your 100?
Ah, that's brilliant. So I could say that you're an actor playing the role of a comedian in real life. Does that work for you?
Not in real life. I would say I'm an actor, but most of my films out there, or most of the skits that went viral, are comedy skits. I mean, films that I was being hilarious in them. But it's fine. We'll take it like that.
Exactly, because it's working, and it also speaks to how versatile you are. The many faces of Jeffrey Naughty. I know you're prepared for that. But speak to us about how you've been able to also ensure that you cross the border with your craft, right? So today you're working with Nigerian actors, tomorrow with Ghanaian actors. You found a way to be relevant as well. So did this come off your skit, of the fact that you were able to think ahead? Because again, if people don't know you for your acting, they know you for your skit, and then they now say, oh, let's act together. So how were you able to cross the border with your craft?
Okay, so between Nigeria and Ghana, we know that Nigeria is having the numbers. And when it comes to skits and content creating, I mean, you guys are, if not 2 steps ahead, but you guys are ahead of us. So I've always been aspiring to be a global icon. And hey, in terms of business, you have to partner, you have to collaborate. So I just had to fly to Nigeria. I actually had the opportunity to start in the film with Bimbo. So right after the film and 2 other films, I decided to collaborate with the likes of Brain Jota, Sabalo, flew to Abuja to collaborate with Kalish Tools and the rest, which is helping because in the space of social media, YouTube and other platforms, you actually have to collaborate with other faces, other acts to tap on their numbers and all. Yes.
So, there are people in Nigeria that are aspiring to be superstars, to be known or recognizable faces and recognizable voices in this space. But they are Nigerians, they haven't been able to break through. So seeing you from Ghana is a beautiful thing. We've seen Van Vika, we've seen a lot of Ghanaian actors who have done incredibly well right here in Nollywood. So talk to us, when you came in, when you started leveraging on the Nigerian space, what were the challenges you faced?
Challenges. First of all, you said there are creatives in Nigeria and they want to break through, and they haven't. Let me put this out there, okay? The fact that you think you're a creative, you think you're a skit maker, probably it's not your field. Probably it's you and your wife or your brother who thinks you're funny. It might not be your thing. You understand? You have to discover your craft and invest in the craft. And also this creative thing, you just have to be consistent about it. Because the fact that you're good doesn't mean you should blow. That's one thing people should know. The fact that you're a good actor doesn't mean tomorrow you should be all over the place. You just have to keep investing. Now, talking about challenges when I was in Nigeria working with the skit makers, the only challenge was that I wanted to work with some other faces, and I didn't get opportunity to work with them, like the likes of Macaroni. He was going through a phase, so we didn't actually work, but we met, we had dinner, we spoke. So hopefully when I come back to Nigeria, I'm going to grab him and we are going to work. But hey, a very big thank you to Sabalo. When he comes to Ghana, I hold him down. So when I went to Nigeria, hey, he helped me with the link up and all. So the challenges, it was kind of keen.
And I think that's something we have that we should really leverage on. Because when you go outside there, some people still see Africa as one nation, right? Even though people try to correct them. No, I'm not from Africa. I'm from Ghana. I'm from Nigeria. But I think that could be a strength. You see the EU, for example, you can literally cross border except for Brexit and what that did. But largely, the EU is still able to see themselves as one in that sense. So you want to get a visa, you get a Schengen visa and stuff. So that's something we have going on for us. And I'm glad you talked about it. Collaboration.
Yeah.
So What are the big dreams for you that you think can come out of this collaboration? We've seen some of the biggest movies coming out of Nigeria over the past few years. New movies also doing big stuff. So what does Ghana have that you think Nigeria does not have? So you have comparative advantage in that. What does Nigeria have that you think Ghana does not have? So that's comparative advantage. Come together and make magic or money.
What a question. What does Ghana have? I think culture-wise, we have different stories. Okay, so we can collaborate and show the cultural differences. Yes, let me just keep it safe before I end up seeing myself on social media. Yes, but I mean, the culture is different. The way of life, what we eat, how we speak, and all that is different. I mean, on social media, we bash us. I know it's all for cruise.
Oh, of course. It's all love. It's all love.
Doctor kind of thing. I think we should find a way to put all these things in a film. It's for entertainment too, and we are also educating people. This is how the Ghanaian sounds. This is how the Nigerian sound and all that. Yes. But then again, collaboration is very important because, you know, when you come together, you strike harder. So in the next few years, I would also want to bring the Nigerian guys down here so we film in this country.
So I know you have a show, Three Faces of Jeffrey Naughty, in June, right? What are those three faces, please? Because we know Two-Face, but you are Three-Face.
Okay, so I've developed characters for my skits. I mean, different characters. So the people have fallen in love with all these characters. I have the very calm character. I think this is the calm character that you see in movies. And there's this street character that in Ghana here, people love him a lot. He's called Dragon. You understand? And he's a kind of like street. He's supposed to appear like a drug addict who, you know, is very knowledgeable. But you never see him with substance because the character is supposed to be friendly so that even the kids can scream his name and all that. So, and there's other characters there. So I've been thinking, and also I'm a poet, I've been thinking, how can I bring all these things together and give the people a live performance, a monodrama experience? Then 2 years ago, I did Three Faces with Jeffrey Naughty in a small space. And this time around, I'm going to the National Theatre on the 14th of June.
All right. Fantastic. Wish you the very best. Jeffrey Naughty, comedian, actor, joining us from Greater Accra in Ghana. Thank you and wish you the very best.
Thank you so much. Well done.
You're getting in character. Well, that's it on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzama. Bye-bye.
I'm Kayode Okikulu. Let's make today count. Don't forget, Sunrise Daily is next. Stay with Channels Television.